Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order by site, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Swarms of the Multiverse, offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms. Plus, you get instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demiplanes. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take your potions to the next level in your game. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. Please support the channel by purchasing one of our books using the links in the video description. Before we talk about the new releases, let's talk about our exclusive discount available on all of our social media channels at Splinterverse. It is Dark Carnival and the Mirrors of Madness for Ravenloft, and it's by author Bumley. It's normally $5.95, but we're going to bring it to you for 50% off with our exclusive discount program. It's a best copper seller, and it's 46 pages, and what's really cool about it is it's a multi-table adventure that takes you and fellow investigating teams from other tables into the Shadowfell Carnival, where a quest for missed talismans leads you deeper into a sinister conspiracy. So, you rarely see this multi-table action. This has it. It's exciting, and it's written with interactive events that bring those tables together, so it's perfect for local community events or online conventions. And it's got player handouts, rewards, all that good stuff, including 10 carnival games like Quipper Pond, Roper Climb, and Ride the Gorgon, 5 carnival acts including the Daring Chimera Tamers and Sword Magicians, 11 potential group patrons, and like I said, player handouts, which is always helpful. You can see some of the nice layout, really easy to read. Love this carnival map. Here's one of the carnival posters. So, you had the Witchlight Carnival in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. This is a different carnival, so if you had a lot of fun with Witchlight or you don't want to play Witchlight, here's an alternative carnival for you. You could even tie the two together somehow. The carnival part of Ravenloft is pretty cool as well, so you could use that domain. So many ways to tie this into existing carnival stuff out there, and I just love that it's multi-table. It's 4 hours, and it's for teams of 5 characters, optimized for 3rd to 6th level. Adjustments are given in the book as well. And it can be played as a single table adventure too, so you just skip some of the interactive events if you don't have multiple tables going. So I love that it's flexible enough to be a multi-table or a single table adventure. So it goes through what's involved, and then here's a prologue with the carnival tour. I love that it gives you a duration for the prologue, so this is 25 minutes. And then you've got the guided tour with the different carnival games going on, funhouse mirrors, and in terms of reusability, I mean, these carnival games, you could take them out of here and put them into Witchlight or other carnivals that you create as well. Even the funhouse mirrors little table they've got going on, rumors, missed talismans, lost memories, vendor and lost memories, etc. And then you get into the carnival game, so that's 90 minutes, it says. And, this is 46 pages, the book, so you get to see 10 pages here, going through the main attractions. Madame Fortuna's wagon seems like a fun character. And then here you get into some of the carnival games like Balloon and Dart. This is a friendly spine devil named Squeed operates this booth. A long wall is lined with colorful balloons. Contestants stand behind a line and throw darts. spines pulled from the spine devil's back. Each balloon has an AC of 10. Contestants must succeed on a ranged attack with a thrown weapon to pop a balloon. Whenever a balloon is popped, the creature that popped it is subject to a random effect that lasts for 1 hour, unless otherwise noted. And here's some of the effects, like your nose grows into a long leafy twig. It grows longer if you tell a lie. Your hair falls out and becomes replaced by long strands of confetti. And, there's 20 different options for these random effects. So you could reuse this table as well for other random effects. They don't reference the balloons per se, so you could easily extract this and use it elsewhere. Because remember, it's normally $5.95. You're getting it 50% off. So pretty good deal. Under $3, you're going to have all of this stuff to be able to use in your tables. So let's find another area to read here. I think the intro text is pretty good too. You have been recruited by a mysterious patron along with many others huddled around tables in a secret lodge. Whether you are heading somewhere or running away from a place, you hope that your quest will grant you passage to another domain. You nurse your cup of tea as you wait for someone to appear. Suddenly, you notice an envelope in front of you that wasn't there before. It contains a carnival ticket and a letter that explains your mission. You must acquire mist talismans from the carnival in the Shadowfell. The letter promises you passage to your next destination if you succeed, but it also warns, once inside the carnival, mist talismans will not avail you. You must find your own way out. When you open the door to the lodge and go outside, you no longer see the place from where you came. Instead, bright lights dazzle your eyes as you gaze upon a makeshift city of colorful pavilions, topped by a light blanket of snow. A chill wind blows a flurry of snowflakes across the dusky sky overhead. You arrive at the entrance to the carnival, where you are greeted by a tall man wearing a tailored suit and top hat. Come one, come all, welcome to the carnival, the most fabulous show you've ever seen. I'm Tyndall the Barker, and I'm delighted to be your guide. Stick with me and you'll be all right. Go off on your own and be ready for a fright. What a fun character, right? And so well written. A lot of times I read this stuff for you guys, and I don't read it in advance. I read it live for you as I'm recording. And it's a sign of good writing when I'm not tripping over everything, right? And it just sounds edited, like they've spent time reviewing this and tweaking it. So really good job from Bumley here with the writing. I'm not noticing typos or really awkward stuff in here as well. Another credit to the writing. So I think this is just going to be such fun for people. You've got horse racing, you've got apple bobbing, all kinds of different things that you can use. Madame Fortuna's wagon's fun, the Hall of Horrors. And this is 50% off. So really, really got to grab this. Experiment with multi-table stuff. You might even get ideas from just reading through this for less than $3, reading through this on how to create your own multi-table adventure, right? So you've got reusability in all your random tables in here and Carnival games. You've got a multi-table adventure. You've got it as a single table adventure. You've got characters that you can pull out of here. It's definitely worth the 50% off price, and it is for a limited time. All of our discounts are. So look for it, and the timestamps should be the very first one or in the alphabetical list in the pinned comment under Dark Carnival. Give it a click and take a chance and have fun with those Carnival games. All right, our first new release is the Arboryn new race, Subraces and Feats from Joel Klein. It's a suggested price of 99 cents for 5 pages. And it says Arboryn are descendants of the first tree, imbued with tree-like qualities. You get lore, racial traits, 2 subraces, and 2 new racial feats, which is really cool. So it's like a complete package, and you can see beautiful artwork and layout, so it's really visually stimulating. I love this image here, the glowing tree. So here's some of the lore. We'll read a bit of that in a minute, and then you get into some of the abilities. It's only 5 pages, so they can't show everything in the preview. without giving it away, but it says they are the offspring of the ancient first druids of the Grove of Dalthea, the mythical first tree. Long ago, when the time came for the final green of Dalthea, the life force of the first tree entwined and bonded with her grieving caretakers, and their skin became like bark and their hair like leaves and needles, as did all their descendants. The ancient Grove of Dalthea is lost now, and many of the ways of the old ones are forgotten. Even so, the first tree lives with every step the Arboryn take. While some Arboryn are aware of their unique lineage, others are left to wonder. Even in more populated areas, they are few and far between. And then it goes into the different, some of the abilities. So you get, of course, languages. Your creature type is humanoid, but you are considered a plant for any prerequisite or effect that requires you to be a plant. You get bark skin. Your skin is naturally rough and bark-like. When you aren't wearing armor, your base AC is 13 plus your dex mod. You can use your natural armor to determine your AC if the armor you wear would leave you with a lower AC. And a shield's benefits apply as normal when you use your natural armor. And then they have an ability called One with the Forest. You have advantage when using the hide action amongst trees and similar foliage. When you reach 5th level, you can cast the Speak with Plants spell once with this trait and regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. Choose Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma as your spellcasting ability for it. Pretty cool. Fun, flavorful, seems like it could be a cool race, especially if they're like rare and you don't see them a lot. You could have some really cool stories with it. I like the artwork too. You could really imagine how you might resemble a tree a little bit with your character. So check it out under Arboryn in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we've got Boldly Going for Spelljammer from Spilled Ale Studios. 10 pages, 250. And it says, boldly go where few adventurers have gone before. It's new content for your Spelljammer adventures. You get the Oath of Federation, a paladin oath. You get the Star Dog, which is a ranger archetype. And spelljamming deities, as well as a new feat called the Space Jam. And 4 magic items, including the Inked Orrery, Multiversal Translator, Officer's Insignia, Phasing Wand of Radiance, etc. So seems like it's inspired by some sci-fi things like Star Trek, which is pretty cool. So you can see a little bit, you get to see 3 of the 10 pages. So you get the introduction to the Star Dog here. It says, some rangers feel the pull of wild space in the astral sea, dedicating themselves to exploring these strange and fascinating realms aboard spelljamming ships. They use their skills and magical talent to become indispensable members of any crew. In the fullness of time, these Star Dogs generally become officers and eventually captains of their own vessels, charting their own course among the stars. So, immediately you have, not immediately, but at 3rd level, you have the Natural Explorer feature, which, basically the favored terrain includes the interior and exterior spelljamming ships of all varieties and sizes, along with their air envelopes, as well as the wrecks of any spelljamming ship. So instead of whatever favored terrain you might normally have, it becomes essentially spelljammer ships. And the void of wild space, as well as smaller astronomical objects such as asteroids, meteors, and smaller moons. It doesn't include settlements, buildings, dungeons, or other artificially developed regions on or within such objects. And then also at 3rd level, you learn Mending and Gust cantrips, and you learn the first level, an additional spell of 1st level or higher when you reach certain levels in the class. So it gives you some additional options, including creating a spelljamming helm at level 17. So pretty cool. And then, like I said, there's deities related to spelljamming covered in here, especially for the Oath of Federation. It says paladins who take the Oath of Federation are joining a union of like-minded individuals throughout wild space, many of whom are in or work towards positions of influence. Their fervent wish is to unite the worlds for the purpose of peaceful coexistence. So it's the Oath of the Federation, right? So Federation from Star Trek, really, about bringing people together, bringing worlds together. So really cool. Love how they've used that as an inspiration, because it does fit now that, we're able to go into wild space with the Spelljammer release from Wizards. So check it out. It's under Spelljammer or actually it's under Boldly Going, but it is for Spelljammer in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Crowns and Castles strategy game where you can rule empires and wage turn-based war in a simulation level expansion for Dungeons and Dragons. And it's by John Riley, $20 for 267 pages. And it's basically going to let you play D&D like it's a 4x empire strategy game. You know, so there's a lot of those kind of video games where you're strategizing, maintaining an empire, trying to expand, trying to fend off invaders, etc. So this is going to kind of simulate that, but in a D&D way. And so it says you're no longer playing as a single character. In Crowns and Castles, you're in control of an entire realm that you create from scratch, making decisions for its military, economy, culture, and diplomacy. That realm gains experience, levels up, and unlocks new abilities. And you're going to do all this in a co-op, player versus player, or mixed environment with a DM who guides the world's narrative and lets you attempt anything you can dream. So you choose a race, pick a government and founding backstory, construct buildings, discover natural resources, create powerful artifacts, research and cast continent-spanning spells, spy on your neighbors, sign treaties, and a whole host of other things, including waging war. So you get 27 races, including some sub-races, 13 governments, 10 founding backgrounds, 15 skills, 50 buildings, and a whole host of other things in this massive book. You can see there's even a little sheet here that you can fill out through Google Docs to kind of manage your realm, so to speak, because you're going to have a little realm that you're sort of in charge of as part of this. So it's really cool and exciting, and I'm really happy to see this out there for people to check out. And just scrolling through, there's going through different government types. So this is a technocracy. It goes through what that is, and then all the different levels and what you get at each level. So like you think of it as kind of like a class, each of these government types. And so it goes into the features. Your stability dice, you get a number of d6s equal to your proficiency bonus. Stability points at first level, 6 plus your order modifier, you know, all these little things that are going to basically create your realm as a character. And then you've got spell casting. So most citizens in your realm have an above average aptitude for technology, magic, craftwork, invention, or all of the above. You know, 2 level 1 spells at first level. And then it says the technocracy table shows the highest level of spell you can research, how many spells you can have prepared at any one time, and how many concentration slots you can devote to maintain spells. So by the time you get to 20th level, you can have 12 different spells with 5 concentration slots. Because again, you're not a single character, you're a whole realm. So 5 concentration spots makes sense because you might have 5 mages or other spellcasters doing your bidding as part of this, right? And so it goes through some various things that you can have happening at each level with that type of government. And you have Arachnotech here. Your artificers scour the known world for references to artifacts and have amassed a collection of options. Mastering the use of these artifacts has been made possible by other scientific advances in chemistry, rudimentary physics, and mechanical engineering. So at 3rd level, your alchemists have learned how to construct mana rechargeable batteries. You can pay X mana to add 1 charge to an artifact you control, where X equals the artifact's level. So all sorts of stuff, managing, you know, your artifacts with this particular government. It just really seems like a fun cross between like a resource management game, a civilization style game, you know, strategy, turn-based strategy, and then D&D and all the interactions. I think this could be really fun, especially if you have a group, I think that's like a bunch of DMs and you're like always kind of arguing over who's going to DM. This kind of makes you a mini DM because you've got your own little realm and you're in charge of that realm. So you're kind of DMing the realm, so to speak, even though you don't have complete control. It is more than just a character, right? So I think this could be really, really fun. I mean, over 500 military units scaled to Crowns and Castles deep mass combat system, 200 traits and reactions for those units, 3 battle maps, 3 storylines, 100 random events. And this is packed full of stuff, 267 pages. I mean, it's rare to see a book over 100 on DM's Guild, although there are some, of course. It's less common than a 5-pager or a 10-pager or a 20-pager, right? So to see a 267-page book devoted to this new way of playing is really cool. And I mean, when you look inside, you see some really nice artwork. It's really laid out well, so you've got, white space to look at, so your eyes aren't bleeding from reading this. I mean, I just think it could be a lot of fun, especially for people that like those 4x strategy games. Really, really fun. So check it out. It's in the links below under Crowns and Castles. Give it a click. Next, we have Crypt of Kolos by Ryan Doyle and Vertigus Table. It is $2.99 for 8 pages. It's a suggested price. And out of a sense of devotion and as a bid to gain more power, a tiefling named Kolos set about to create a shrine to the extraplanar source of their powers. However, before it could be completed, the temple would become their tomb. With their last breaths, Kolos erected defenses and summoned guardians to protect them and their secrets. Time has passed, but those dangers remained to challenge our heroes as they explore the Crypt of Kolos to gain knowledge, treasure, and maybe even a new ally who has wisdom from the past and an agenda all their own. So it's a 3 to 4 hour adventure balanced for level 3, but it's perfect to be run as a standalone one-shot, to fill just a session, or you can incorporate elements of the player backstory and drive further adventures into a campaign. So pretty cool, and there's a video here you can watch on it from Vertigus Table as well. So looking inside, you get to see all 8 pages, which is really cool. We've got some design notes. Each section has flavor text, which I like. Here's the map of all the different locations. And you've got different things going on, including a Nothix lair, storeroom, all kinds of fun graphics to go along with the different places that you would visit. So I like Nothix a lot, so let's read about that. So it says, an acolyte or apprentice attempted to harness powers beyond their control to confront the Guardian in room 6 and reach Kolos. This resulted in their transformation into a Nothic and perhaps caused the structural damage and flooding in rooms 6 and 7. And it says, this room is only partially finished. In the center of the otherwise empty space is a pallid creature with its hunched, spiny back to you. It hums to itself quietly as it eats a raw fish with its clawed hands, making nauseating sounds. The Nothic's mind has been eroded with their transformation in the passage of time. Almost all knowledge of who and what they once were has left them. What they do know is that they desperately want to get past the spectator in room 6. Given the opportunity to persuade or deceive the party, the Nothic's main goal will be to have them confront the spectator and clear the way to the master. So very cool. I love Nothix, and that's a fun little, he's got an agenda, gonna try to get past them to, or convince them to clear the spectator so he can get past them to the master, whoever the master is, right? But yeah, I love all the artwork in here, and Ryan always does really nice writing, really creative, imaginative stuff. We've covered some of Ryan's encounter books, and they always have really cool plot points and stuff. So I'm sure this adventure is going to be a lot of fun too. And I just love how it's easy to read and got a generous amount of art in here as you scroll through. So check it out. It's under Crypt of Kolos in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we've got Cultures of Thrane, The Heart and Soul of Galifar by Joseph Meehan. It is $4.99 for 30 pages, and it says Thrane like you've never seen before. Cultures of Thrane is a supplement for the Eberron campaign setting, exploring the theocratic region of Thrane through a new lens. Included is not just an exploration of the nation's history and religion, but the many peoples who live here, and in-depth expansions on the lore of the many cities and regions of Thrane. And you can see already, just here in the catalog page, some really nice artwork. Love that. And there's a bundle that contains other Eberron supplements from the author, so you'll want to check that out when you click the link. But it's really exciting to see people diving deep into some of the lore of famous wizard settings and giving us more information, because wizards, they can only put out so many books a year. So when authors like Joseph here come along and fill in some of those gaps, it's super helpful, especially for DMs who want that support and want that backstory assistance. So you can see it goes through the history, religion, life, people, foreign relations, and then various locations, sort of like a gazetteer of those. So you've got the history here, lots and lots of lore. So you got the Church of the Silver Flame, a bunch of their doctrine here, the hierarchy, practices, holidays even. So you've got the Ascension and Silvertide holidays, among others, the Pure Flame, other religions, life in Thrane, agriculture, the climate, the visual arts, the economy, the government. I mean, really deep diving. And then it goes into each of the races that live there and deals with what it's like for them. And you're getting to see the whole book in this preview, which is really cool. If you look down here, you get into the location section, lots and lots of details on those, including a few stat blocks, something called the Lair of 𝘙𝙬𝙬𝙧𝙫. One of Thrane's enduring legends is the Lair of 𝘙𝙬𝙬𝙧𝙫. Nobody is quite sure where it is or the final fate of the dragon. The following tables suggest some possibilities. So you can determine the location randomly, and then who's there now. There's a whole table of who could be in there. I mean, just tons and tons of information, rural villages, local legends, current troubles, prominent people tables. Those are great because you could just roll through these and really define it. So it says, like all rural areas, Thrane's villages have their share of stories and unique history. So we'll pretend we rolled a 1 on all these tables. So the first one says, when the Iyundaryân army invaded, a dragon intervened in support of the overwhelmed Thranish forces. So that would be a legend that village would maybe talk about if they're meeting your characters. Oh, have you heard the tale of this dragon that came to support the Thranish forces, and they could regale the party with that. And then current troubles, if we rolled a 1, it would be the local priest is a member of a whispering flame cult and has been guiding people down dark and dangerous paths to quote-unquote salvation. So yeah, that could be a whole story or adventure, even a campaign. And then you've got prominent people. Rural communities are populated by colorful folk. Here are some ideas for local figures in the Thranish villages. So first one is Alistair is a human farmer scarred by his time in the military. The pure flames, promises of an end to the darkness and uncertainty of war have begun to appeal to him in the last few years. So that could be another cool angle to play. Maybe he's taken it too far. His connection to the pure flame. So pretty cool. And that's just one. I mean, each of these tables is a D10, so you got 10 options. And this book just has so much. If you're playing Eberron, this seems like really, this entire series seems like a really good investment, because you're going to get all this backstory and information. Whichever way your party decides to go, you're going to have options. So let's just read about a couple of the holidays here. So there's one called the Rampartide, celebrated on the 24th of Aerith, marks the transition from fall to winter and calls for the faithful to fortify against the winter ahead. The holiday is celebrated through fasting and atonement. Neighbors are expected to resolve quarrels, debts are settled, and family feuds concluded. Then you've also got First Dawn, celebrated on the 21st of Nim, celebrates over 80 years of theocratic rule. The Thranish government has used it to replace Urien's crown, a host holiday marking transfers of authority as well as conclusions of academic years. So yeah, you have all kinds of holidays, some of them more mundane than others, but that's good because that's how life is, right? You're going to have a little bit, celebrating academic year ending is kind of a more mundane thing, but that's okay. You need that kind of backdrop for any kind of campaign that you might have in a fantastical place. And I think mentioning holidays, festivals, whatever, just brings fantastical locations to life. So I love it. Check it out. It's under Cultures of Thrane in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Epic Level Sourcebook, a guide for characters levels 21 to 30 by Rob Waller and Spirit of Envy, $4.99 for 30 pages. And it's basically, how do you continue your character beyond level 20. And so there's 7 epic classes, so you would presumably you would start as whatever, a fighter, a wizard, whatever, and then at 20, when you go to 21, you would take on an epic class, kind of like prestige classes used to be. And then there's 60 epic feats. There's a thematic influence system to reflect your character status, epic level rituals, and then even powerful templates to make monsters an appropriate challenge. So that's super helpful, because any attempt to go beyond 20, you're going to need support, because almost all the materials that are out there, we've covered a few books that do go epic, but there's just not a ton, right? So you need that support for challenges that are going to be greater than the typical CR 30, 17, whatever. So you can see kind of the table of contents here. They got the epic classes from Archmage to Weapon Master. And then under monsters, they have an eldritch creature, elemental creature, evolving creature, paragon creature, etc. So really cool stuff. So looking inside the epic levels, you can see kind of how things work. It says you may not take levels in an epic class before level 21. When you take the first level in epic class, you gain the proficiencies listed in its class features. And then epic feats represent powerful abilities that may improve a class feature, allow you to combine 2 features from separate classes, or grant you completely new powers. And you gain them at 22, 24, 26, 28, and 30. So every even level, basically. Pretty easy to remember. So Archmage is one of the epic classes. So we'll look at that one in a minute. But you see you've got the Chosen, the Juggernaut. You get to see 4 of the 30 pages. So you get to see a few of the classes, which is cool. So the Archmage says, okay, so you get some additional hit points, you get proficiencies, including a saving throw and additional skill, and those are pretty much flexible in that you can choose them. And you've got ability score, so when you reach the 4th level, meaning, I guess 24 would be the level, you gain some ability scores, improvements at 25. Whenever you cast a spell with an area of effect, you gain the ability to exclude a number of 5-foot squares equal to your proficiency bonus. From 7th level, you are able to take an additional reaction between each of your turns. This extra reaction can only be used to cast a spell. And then at 9th level, when you fail a charisma, intelligence, or wisdom saving throw, you may choose to end any ongoing effect resulting from it as a free action at the end of your next turn. You must choose to do this before attempting any further save that may be allowed. And then potent casting at 10th level, so level 30. When you cast a spell, you can choose to make all variable instances of damage caused by that spell to inflict the maximum possible amount. You may use this number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Very cool, super powerful stuff. But it feels like, by the time you hit level 30, you would be almost godlike, right? So having it forcibly do max damage is pretty cool. But yeah, I like that there's a lot of options in here. I mean, you're getting 7 different classes. You're getting all these different ways to up the monsters. You're getting feats. So I think this could be really cool. And it's only $4.99 to make it all happen. So check it out. It's under Epic Level Sourcebook in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have The Horned King by Elven Tower. It's a level 6 adventure, and it's a one-shot for mid-tier. It says, in The Horned King, the adventurers must face a dangerous threat from the past. Almost 200 years ago, a king in love with combat and war had the most violent life. During his reign, he had the chance to put his fighting abilities to the test over and over. He became famous for his reckless demeanor and his brutal combat techniques. But the king was betrayed. His court mage grew tired of his brute personality and cursed him. The spell would turn him to stone forever. But the king fought the mage's hex with incredible will and managed to slow the petrification process, but only not indefinitely. While he could, he unleashed his rage and fury, but in the end he turned into a statue. As a mockery, the people of the city put him on a throne inside a forgotten place. But they ignored that the king would wake up every 100 years. His horned helmet fused to his head and transformed into a monster. The Horned King's arrival will not catch the people of Eberron city unaware again. So very cool. And it says it has 2 awesome dungeon crawling experiences, tons of treasures and deadly traps, and the opportunity to earn recognition by freeing the region from a terrible threat. I love the story that like every 100 years this king wakes up. So all sorts of legends could be built around that. People could forget. You know, there's all kinds of things that could happen as a result of a sort of, I guess you'd call it a curse. But looking at the layout, as usual, Elven Tower's layout is great. And these maps, I mean, look at this map. That is massive. Very helpful, reusable. And I mean, $245 for this is such a killer price. So you can see here, you know, creating the party. And then you get right into the adventure primer, which is the background lore, adventure overview, adventure hooks, and then of course all the points of interest and locations marked on the map. And there's this cool thing called the Sapphire Sphere, which we'll read about in a minute. And then here's the Minotaur's Maze, which is the other adventure. So you can see kind of the image of the maze in the catalog page. But let's read about the Sapphire Spear. So it's legendary, requires attunement. It's longer than a usual blade and is made from a light alloy, making it very light. The spear may seem unbalanced to untrained hands. It has a dozen 1-inch wide sapphires embedded on the hilt and shaft. They glow faintly with purple light. As this spear is strangely made, it is not a strength weapon, but a +2 dex weapon that possesses both the light and finesse properties. When you make an attack with the spear, you can choose to either do slashing or piercing damage. It can also be thrown further, but for less damage. The spear does only 1d4 when thrown, but can be thrown 30 or 70 feet. The Sapphire Spear is the only weapon capable of wounding the Horned King. Dealing damage with the spear to the Minotaur bypasses its magic protection and opens his defenses against any type of damage for 2 rounds. After this short period, the Minotaur's magic defenses are restored. So you need this. And it seems like what you're going to do is you're going to go through the first dungeon crawl to get this item. Then you're going to go through the second dungeon crawl, or the maze, to take on this Horned King. Really cool. I always love this stuff. These maps, just the reusability of these. I mean, this could be anything you want it to be. And you get those glorious files with this, along with, an item. You could reuse this item. You get that maze map. I mean, this maze map, look at that. Just so cool. You can reuse that. I mean, this would be hard to navigate in Theater of the Mind, right? So you could do that and just use the map for you to keep track, or you could let the players see parts of it, whatever you want to do. I mean, the value you get is epic, because you always get a printer-friendly version. You get the high-res and Roll20 versions of these maps, and low price of $245 for basically 2 adventures, dungeon crawls, and then all these maps. So you gotta look at it. It's in the links below under Horned King. Give it a click. Next, we have the Korranberg Chronicle map Perilous, an Eberron bestiary by Anthony Turco and Korranberg Chronicle, of course, and it is $29.99 for 506 pages. So it's a massive amount of pages. But immediately when you look at this catalog page, this map just jumps out at you, and it is just stunning. I mean, look at that, the map Perilous, right, and all the different colors. Just really cool how detailed it is. It says the latest tome from the Korranberg Chronicle, Map Perilous is a combined bestiary and NPC codex that delves into the far corners of the continent of Khorvaire. With over 500 pages detailing allies, enemies, and rivals, this book is invaluable to any Eberron campaign. So you also get high-res image files for the Map Perilous, so you can really, delve into this map and look at it. I think you could just spend hours looking through this, planning adventures. I love stuff like this. And so it starts with, it looks like a little story. You get to see 141 pages in the preview. I mean, this is a massive tome, 500 pages. So it's great that you get to see so much. So let's zoom in a little bit here. So you get the regions, going through all the different regions in these map areas. And then you get stat blocks by creature type, and stat blocks by CR. Really, really helpful. Love the layout. So the fact that it's centered on this map is just also really cool, because the colors of the map you can use to kind of find what area you're looking at. So like regions emerald, so that would be this, presumably this middle area here, and then it's going to go into the 5 nations, and it's got all these different cool pictures, and you've got challenge ratings 3, 7, and another 3 right there. Then you've got a 3, a 6, a 2, a 1, all kinds of CRs here for you. Here's even an 8, a War Maged, and then you got the dragon marked houses. Just so much to use for Eberron. This is, if you play Eberron or are thinking of getting into Eberron, this is going to be a must purchase for you, because look at how cool all this stuff is, and the artwork is just really great. And then here we're zooming in on 𝘎𝙤𝙘𝙧𝙀, and just gorgeous. That is just unbelievably fun to look at. The star peaks, wherever you look, it's just fun, and you get all the information about their armed forces, their military, the Knights Arcane. So you got a Blade Singer here, Eldritch Knight, Knight Phantom. In some of these, we know there's subclasses called Blade Singer and our Eldritch Knight, right? So if you are a fan of those subclasses and you wanted to have an NPC with it, you can reuse these stat blocks, right, to have an Eldritch Knight or a Blade Singer in some other campaign. So lots of reusability, since there's so many stat blocks in here for you. Here's Breland. It's just, I'm just going to do like a quick scroll so you can see. Let me zoom out so you can see the pages. But how beautiful is this? Just every page is filled with really great art and nice layout. I'm scrolling real fast because it's 141 pages, and we don't have an infinitely long video here to do, but I just wanted you to kind of get a feel for how great it is as you scroll through. So I'm going to pick an area to read early on, because I want to give you a taste of the fun writing in here as well. So let's read about the 5 nations. So, although each nation of Khorvaire has their own individual traditions and society, they are bound together with a common culture colloquially referred to as the 5 Nations, out of respect for the original 5 nations that once made up the unified kingdom of Galifar. Despite the thronehold accords proliferating the number of nations of Khorvaire to over a dozen, and the loss of Sire, one of the original 5, many of the miscellaneous NPCs found in the Monster Manual and other official sourcebooks can be found throughout the 5 nations. Below are some additional generic NPC statistics that can be used for a wide variety of characters in an Eberron game, no matter where the player's characters go. How awesome is that? You're running an Eberron campaign, you're like, oh, I need a stat block. They're going to run into somebody somebody guarding this place. Now I gotta, let's take a break. I'm gonna go make one. No, if you have this book, you can just go through and say, okay, I need an artificer, or I need a beguiler, or a battlesmith, or whatever, and you've got your stat blocks. So really cool. And it doesn't just give you the stat block. It says, like right here, it says a duelist is a deadly sword fighter, but typically one that exists within higher social circles than common soldiers, mercenaries, or thugs. As a legitimate sport, fencing tournaments are a popular pastime for nobles and dragon-marked heirs alike. Though the Code of Galifar considers a non-sanctioned duel to be criminal assault with 2 guilty parties, duels are still popular means of resolution for slights and other conflicts, usually to first blood. So, more than a stat block. You can come up with, duels, various things that might happen as a result of encountering a duelist. But there's a lot in here. You've got Highborn, War Mages, and then you've got a whole section on the dragon-marked houses. So, dragon marks are a thing in Eberron. So that could tie into this. All the different NPCs. You've even got this whole section on dragon marked ability scores. So love it. I think anybody who is either playing Eberron or considering Eberron has to grab this, just because just even to use the maps, not to mention the stat blocks. It's just so well done. So good job, team on this, so look for it. It's in the links below. Korranberg Chronicle, map Perilous. Gotta check it out. Give it a click. Next we have Pioneer's Path to Port Luxus by Art of Karthik, $9.99 for 70 pages. It says, Dungeon Masters of the World, have you ever thrown a dragon at your party and found the resulting combat to be a repetitive slugfest? Has your game just been reduced to dice rolls resulting in hit or miss? Or has your dragon been way too powerful, forcing you to make it weaker or risk a total party kill? Would you like to spice up your dragon encounters with a little more personality? Would you like your dragons to be long-term threats whose actions have far-reaching consequences? Would you like to give your players more choices in what they want to do? Well, then this is for you. The Persuasive Persuader, an ancient Greek dragon that will leave a lasting and memorable impression on your campaign. So it's intended for 46 characters, taking them all the way from level 1 to 11. And I love that it's basically putting a dragon in the middle of things and weaving them in and having them be a persistent part of the campaign as opposed to just a one-time, dice roll fest. So you've got all the information on the Dragon Cult Temple, the Broken Dreams, other cult temples, and then Port Luxus, which is a big part of this, where this campaign is going to take place, this location. So tons of information on this location. The Dragon's Secret, the Omega Domain, appendices, including the Dragon's Horde and NPCs, etc. So you get to find out about Vidrix, the pervasive persuader, and then you get into Port Luxus with this map, and it shows you all the different wards, factions that are there, and then running the adventure. So much going on. But let's read a little bit about the rival factions. So you've got the Wave Crest Church. The Wave Mother is the official patron deity of Port Luxus. Since much of its propriety is due to ocean trade, the Wave Crest Church has promoted worship to the Wave Mother and occupies a very favorable position in the hierarchy of power in Port Luxus. The superstitious sailors of Port Luxus offer coins to the fountain at the church entrance before they set out on voyages. Merchants pay a portion of their earnings to the church in order to ensure the safe return of their trade vessels, and the Wave Crest Church gladly accepts all of the offerings on behalf of the Wave Mother and uses them for the betterment of the less fortunate in the city. However, after the recent series of lost trade ships, faith in the church has been waning. The clerics of the Wave Mother, led by the honest war priest, wish to conduct a festival to pray for the good fortune of all traders and sailors to safely return from their travels. So a lot could be going on in this little town. I mean, I know there's an adventure built around it, but I mean, what we just read, there's a lot of story potential in that. And I like this idea of, putting coins in the fountain for this deity, etc. So much going on. And it says Viridax, the persuasive persuader, represents raw desire pushed to the extreme and covets what she desires to the extreme. She may lack in power, but she makes up for it with her charm and charismatic presence. She is a powerful primordial creature who can warp her surroundings to suit her needs. Due to her deep connection with forests, Viridax has become a powerful archdruid of the forest, but she is less interested in maintaining the balance of nature and focused on bending and reshaping the forest and its creatures, such as kobolds, lizard folk, trolls, and hill giants, to her will. So, again, a lot going on. So many areas and angles for conflict. I mean, getting out of under the rule of this dragon, maybe freeing some of these species that are being oppressed or subjugated by her. You've got factions. I mean, just so much going on. 70 pages for $9.99. That's a really good price for 70 pages. I really am always excited to see lengthy titles being published, because I know as a publisher how long that takes, how much funds that takes, and it's just really an accomplishment when these things are put out there. So we want to support that, and you want to check it out. It's under Pioneer's Path to Port Luxus in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Underdark Dwellers, Exiles, and Elementals for Forgotten Realms, and it's by 𝘼𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙡 and Stormcloud Dreamscapes. It's $4.99 for 88 pages, and says the book contains more than 75 Underdark monsters, renegade NPCs, and creatures, as well as some new player options with 2 new lycanthropes. Some are completely original, some are adapted from previous editions, and then there's 5 magical items native to the Underdark, such as the legendary Warhammer heirloom of the House of Steel Shadow, the Royal Duergar House of Gracklestugh, and Fearsome Scourge of Fangs of the Spider Priestesses of Menzoberranzan. So you get stat blocks and beautiful art. You can see just from scrolling through how cool it looks inside. And so it talks about the followers of 𝙭Sword Dancer, Darksong Knight, and then you get stat blocks. So this is a CR5, CR6, CR3. CR3, it's lots of stuff. CR8, so good mix. And if you're watching this, you might add to your catalog the range of CR, because it looks like you have a good range. Well, I guess it's kind of here already, isn't it? So you've got 1-4 all the way to, it looks like 12. So yeah, so a good amount, good range of CR options. So a lot of use out of that. You can always use more characters, especially in those levels, because that's really a lot of tier 1, tier 2 there. So let's find one to read about. The insane cleric of the elder cults. Clerics of the elder cults are insane and violent worshippers of the ancient and forgotten gods who reside in the far realm. These demented clerics lead cults dedicated to the dark powers of the far realm. Elder cults is the collective name given to the cults worshipping and devoted to the elder deities. These cults and clerics dedicate their lives to further the incomprehensible agendas of the far realm's insane deities. They organize secret communities, gather followers, and perform dark rituals in hopes of opening gates between the material plane and the plane of the far realm, and eventually bringing their unholy gods into the world to initiate the apocalypse. Some of these cultists and priests are also known to venerate demon lords. So yeah, you can have a lot going on with them. They have a trait called Insane Mind. If a creature tries to read the cleric's thoughts or deals psychic damage to the cleric, that creature must succeed on an int saving throw or be stunned. And then you've got Mesmerize. The cleric targets a humanoid it can see, and if the target can hear the cleric normally or telepathically, the target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed. So really cool stuff. And they've got a summon 𝘼𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙡, and that's just the insane clerics. So there's a lot of other things that could be happening underground in the Underdark. And even though it's themed around Forgotten Realms and Underdark, I'm sure a lot of these can be used in other underground cavernous locales or dungeons. So I think for $4.99 to get 75 Underdark creatures is pretty cool. So check it out. It's under Underdark Dwellers in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Wild Magic Tables 3 for Arctic, Swamp, and Underwater locations by J.W. Rose. And it's 99 cents for 10 pages. And this is part of a series. You can see under more from this title's contributors that they have Wild Magic Tables 1 and Wild Magic Tables 2. So, you have the Wild Magic Sorcerer. You have various things in D&D that can cause wild effects. A number of our books cause wild effects. Feywild Companion and Swarms of the Multiverse both have things in it, several things in them, that cause wild effects or wild magic. And so you can never have enough tables like this to supplement those wild effects and wild magic things that are going on. You just never know when you're going to need a random thing. And if you play a lot, you're going to run through that table for the Wild Magic Sorcerer and be like, I'm tired of the same old ones. Can we come up with some new ones, right? So J.W. Rose has done that. And not only has J.W. Rose done that, but, done 3 volumes already, and maybe eventually there'll be a bundle for those, I'm guessing. But in any case, 99 cents is a steal to get a bunch of wild effects. And this is also, it's also got wild magic zones, so they manifest when some arcane oddity or corruption occurs in a region's natural wave of magic. As a result, magic becomes unpredictable, and strange results often occur whenever a creature taps into their magical abilities or items. These unpredictable places form under various circumstances, such as when interplanar travel goes wrong in the aftermath of a large-scale magical battle, or when a powerful artifact or magical creature was destroyed. Restoring such a region to its natural state could take decades, centuries, or even be irreversible. Adventurers who find themselves in zones of wild magic should keep a close eye on the nearest mage. So it talks about how to trigger a surge, and then you've got the wild surge tables. So it talks about how to use the tables here. So these wild surges can be, immediately roll on this table 3 more times, ignoring the results on this result on subsequent rolls. So right off the bat, if you roll a 1 or a 2, there's going to be 3 different effects that happen, which is really cool. So the next one is, for the next hour, you can stand, walk on water as it freezes beneath your feet. That's a cool effect. I like the visual of it freezing beneath your feet. The next one, an ice method controlled by the DM appears in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you and then disappears 1 minute later. There's a 25% chance the ice method acts as an ally. And so those are some cool effects. Now let's look at the swamp ones. We just looked at a few of the Arctic ones. A staff of swarming insects appears in your hands or in a space within 5 feet of you if your hands are full. When the staff appears, it has 1d6 plus 4 charges. You can attune to it as an action on your turn. The staff evaporates into mist after 1 minute. If you die within the next 8 hours, your corpse is protected by the Gentle Repose spell for 10 days. And then scrolling down to underwater wild magic, you cast Polymorph spell on yourself. If you fail the saving throw, you turn into a seahorse for the spell's duration or until reduced to 0 hit points. It says up to 3 creatures within 30 feet of you take 4d10 acid damage. For the next minute, creatures within 30 feet of you gain a swim speed of 30 feet. So lots of random things happening. And that's just a few examples. I mean, these tables are D100, so there's a lot of options for you. And for 99 cents, you're going to get 3 tables, one for Arctic, one for swamp, one for underwater. So definitely worth having that on hand if you need some wild stuff going on in any of the books out there that need such things. Or if you just want to create an area where these things have happened, there's been a big magic battle, or maybe a great wizard died there, and so magic is just sort of behaving strangely there. There's a lot of reasons these things could be going on. So check it out under Wild Magic Tables in the links below. Give it a click. Well, that's our last DM's Guild title. Before we move on to DriveThruRPG, please like the video for the algorithm and subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment. I'll respond to all those comments personally, and if you can share the video with your friends, that would be super helpful as well. Let's get the word out about all these great creations and creators. Get them some business so that they'll continue to produce really fun works for all of us to enjoy. And consider purchasing one of the books from Splinterverse Media. We have 6 different titles, including Swarms of the Multiverse, which is over 180 pages with over 70 brand new creatures and 140 stat blocks, including creatures that create swarms or swarm together or command swarms, whatever their connection to swarms. You've got the individual stat block and then a swarm related stat block on these creatures, and the creatures are not just crammed in there. You get beautifully illustrated artwork alongside them, along with a list of tactics, adventure hooks, lore, a minimum of 2 pages per creature, and then a lot of them have bonus things like magic items or a related demi-plane that you can visit. So really fun stuff in there, and it's print or digital. We've also got Feywild Companion, our best-selling title. It's over 150 pages in print or digital, and it's got everything you could want for the Feywild, from a new domain of delight to subclasses that are Fey-themed, magic items, even flowers of the Feywild to make the place really seem fantastical, and full adventures, encounters, monsters, you name it, it's in there if it's connected to the Fey. Then we've got Fizban's Vaulted Draconic Secrets. It is really dragon themed. So if you love dragons, if you want subclasses themed around dragons for every single class, including Artificer. We've got you covered with that book. We've got magic items, horde magic items, draconic secrets, a new familiar, trinkets, just all kinds of fun things in there, including at the end a bunch of adventure hooks that tie into all these player options. So if you're a DM and you want to use some of these player options, you have ways to work them into the campaign or even use them for NPCs. Then we've got Secrets of the Draugr, which is a new race that combines elements of the Drow and the Duergar into a surprising new way of existence, including deities, subclasses, and a fortune-telling method. Then we got Van Richten's Librum of Lineages, which goes into the new concept of lineages and teaches you how to join them together to have like chained lineages, or how to remove a lineage from a character. Maybe a character doesn't want to keep a lineage, and this is how you remove it and put it back to whatever the starting race was. And then there's 4 conflict-driven races in there. And then lastly, we've got Potions Unlocked, which is over 100 pages of potion fun in both print and digital. So you got brand new potions in there, including how do they taste, how do they smell, how do you craft them, what are the warnings if you're exposed to too much of the potion, all sorts of optional rules for potions. Really an attempt to make potions more fun. Right now they're just, I take a potion of healing, I take a potion of healing. It's just like riding a bike. It's just, you don't think about it, you just do it, right? So this makes you think about potions. They're really fun. Each one has a backstory of how it came to be. So if you want to turn that into an encounter, you can, or just have a vendor relate it, including one of the many vendors in the book, including their inventories and VTT maps of their shops, etc., to really make it fun and bring potions to your world, plus plants and all kinds of other cool stuff in there too. So check it out. It's under Potions Unlocked. And of course, we want you to purchase all the wonderful books that we've covered this week. They are linked down below. We hope you click on those and explore those, read those, buy those, follow them on social media, leave them a review. And of course, if you purchase anything after clicking those links, even if it's a book we didn't cover, you're going to be supporting the channel because we get a small affiliate fee from each transaction. So that's really helpful too. So please do your shopping with us. All right, let's move on to DriveThruRPG. Our first drive-thru title this week is Fearsome Foes Mortician from Rusted Iron Games and Kim Franson. It's $2.99 for 10 pages. And it says, welcome to Fearsome Foes Mortician. This series provides villains or villainous groups to challenge the player character heroes in your role-playing games. The villains presented are suitable to be used as either one-shot or recurring foes. In addition to the main villain, each volume includes enough supporting material to introduce it to your game with little or no extra prep, including lieutenants, minions, and supporting encounters. This entry presents 𝘽𝙤𝙘𝙀𝙀𝙀, aka the Mortician, a powerful lich necromancer posing as a local undertaker and occasional patron of adventurers, sponsoring them to fight undead outbreaks in the local cemeteries. A group of 4 adventurers should be at least 12 level to take on the Mortician, but can start encountering his minions much earlier. So looking inside, you get to see 5 of those 10 pages. And I really like the setup with this character because it says the Mortician is a well-known undertaker in a large town. Over many years, he has earned a reputation as a font of knowledge regarding the undead. He is exceptionally versed in the methods of killing them, going to the point where he has founded and funded a group of undead slayers and is always willing to lend a helping hand to a group of heroes in need. So if that's the case, he could hire the party as undead slayers, work them into his organization, seem like a good person, and then you find out later, not so good. So that could be really cool to have them, in the early levels working for the Mortician maybe, and then tables turn later. So you've got that sort of intro set up here, and then it goes into the goals of the Mortician, the plots, including some adventure hooks to bring the characters in, and then you've got some encounters. in here, as well as the tactics, which is really helpful. So it says daily, every evening before heading down into his basement to work, the Mortician casts alarm in the shop, ensuring that he has plenty of warning before anyone joins him downstairs. Once he has finished casting his preparatory spells, he moves into his public apartment for a confrontation with the intruders, aiming to preserve his secrecy. In the basement, he hides his greatest weapon, an onyx golem, which he uses as his bodyguard. So get his routine down using these tactics, and then it talks about what he does before combat, during, and then for morale. And that's just in the preview. There's only half the book here to see, so a lot more stuff to be had. So looking at some of the adventure hooks, says the mentor, the heroes need a sage specializing in the undead who can teach them how to kill or fend off a particular type of undead. After searching, they come across 𝙬𝙗, an elf everyone says is very wise and knows everything about the undead, though he's now too old to fight them directly. So perfect, sort of innocent introduction, and it can take a turn later, of course. I like this one too, a funeral procession. Sadly, the heroes must bury one of their own or a beloved friend and come across the final rest funeral parlor. 𝙬𝙗's prices are very reasonable, but he asks them specifically if they'd like to have the corpse undead proofed, claiming that there's been an infestation in the area recently. Perhaps they'd be willing to take care of it for him in return for having their friend's funeral performed for free. So great introduction. And what I also love about this is that it just takes place in any town. So you can place this Mortician in, Waterdeep. You can place them in your own creation, wherever. So this is really, really helpful. And it's only $2.99 to have all of this on standby for when you need a big bad. I really like it. So check it out. It's under Fearsome Foes, Mortician, in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have In the Name of Science by Lunch Break Heroes, and it is on sale right now for $2.99, normally $4.99, and it's got Lunch Break Heroes and Ashton Duncan as the authors. It says, at the heart of the city of Lothbrok lies a vast cemetery, the Grey Vaults. 5 bodies have been stolen, and a missing person has just turned up in its morgue. As players investigate the mystery that links both of these events, they will discover the unpleasant truths behind the workings of life and death, and how far a man will go to get back what he has lost. Characters of 6th level will follow clues from the Grey Vault Cemetery to the local university, where they uncover secrets and bitter rivalries. All of this will lead them to discover a man at the end of his rope, and the bitter fruits of his insanity. So sounds kind of cool. And you've got this map of the cemetery and the university, under the theater, all sorts of numbered stuff in the mausoleum here. Really cool. When you're looking for adventures to buy, one thing I would consider is, are you getting maps? Because that's reusability. This particular book has some great maps. It's 27 pages. Let's look inside. So you get the introduction to the adventure, the background, and then some adventure hooks to get the characters into it. And this with the cemetery could work really well. We were looking previously at that Mortician character. You could combine it with this cemetery adventure. I think they'd pair really well together, that Fearsome Foes Mortician book and this. So, really, really cool, I think, to play these together, because it says 5 recently buried bodies have been stolen from the Grey Vaults, Lothbrok's most populous cemetery. So right there, that's a connection to undead, cemeteries. That other book is a connection to a funeral parlor, right? So they could work and can be placed in any town. So it could be in Lothbrok, and you could just have a whole thing going on. Love it. All right, so looking through, you can see beautifully laid out, easy to read. Lots of flavor text for each of the little sections here. Everything is just super crisp and easy to read. I love it. So I'm going to read the intro to the Grey Vaults, because I think it's going to give you that feeling of the good writing in this book. So, standing at its wrought iron gates, the Grey Vault Cemetery stretches before you, surrounded by an ivy-covered stone wall. In the evening light, the sea of tightly packed headstones cast long, ghoulish shadows over one another. Several mausoleums huddle in the distance, the joints of their stones weeping black streaks. Nearby, A bronze statue of a small dog guards the entrance of the cemetery from a plinth beside the gate. 2 small buildings stand side by side just inside the entrance, a wooden cottage and a windowless stone building with a large chimney. A red tiefling covered in dirt emerges from the cottage. I'm Clemency Moritz, caretaker of the Grey Vaults. I've been expecting you. So you get that sort of intro right away, and a tiefling greets you at the beginning of the cemetery. So sets the tone, sets the mood, really cool. And then you go into the cottage, and you've got the morgue and the crematorium and empty graves. And it's really cool. I'm just loving all this sort of undead feeling, grave feeling that we're getting with the titles this week. I think you could weave them together and have a whole campaign, because this is a 6th level adventure, right? And so you need multiple things to do a complete campaign, and so having this could be a great part of it. I think it's really awesome that they have the cemetery, the university, and this Lothburgh town. It could be the base of operations. It could be the sort of the hub of your campaign. So really, really cool stuff. Check it out. It's under In the Name of Science in the video description links. Give it a click. Next, we have Into the Cess and Citadel, which is system neutral, but also it says it works for OSR. It's a supplemental book for those seeking to incorporate a strange, colorful, and terrifying city into their role-playing game. Presented within the book is a comprehensive guide to running adventures or campaigns within a fantastical city, along with an overhaul of the adventuring system to better accommodate the unique challenges and benefits of a sprawling urban environment. It's designed to turn the traditional city into more immersive dungeon-like adventure setting. The book provides rules for everything from small urban dungeon exploration to a total urban conversion, with a world filled with disasters, factions, and encounters that react to the player's actions. Along with these rules are a series of generators for creating an urban environment from a 6-mile district down to a single building, and an essay on how best to run your urban adventure. So urban adventures I always have loved. I think they're awesome, and they are a bit different than dungeons, right? Because you have a lot of bystanders, you have a lot of citizens, you have a lot of politics, you have a lot of other things going on besides something buried deep in a crypt, right? So it's cool to see books like this that say, let's take a different approach. Let's make it more of like a living, breathing city. I love the fact that the factions and the encounters react to the player's actions. That's really cool. So it gives you a list here of some of the other things. It says rules for traveling and surviving in a city, including exploration, traffic, and hazards. Tools for generating unique urban factions and their complicated relationships. Guides for running each of the urban environments presented, step-by-step guides for generating and running 3 unique city landscapes, hundreds of tools, hirelings, contraband, and services, both mundane and strange, unique districts to explore and exploit, dozens of tables for dressing, shops, streets, NPCs, and more, 50-plus monsters ranging from depraved aristocrats, sewer walruses, and dire pigeons, magical artifacts, curious spells, diseases, 100 locations. This is packed. This is 288 pages for $19.95. I think this is going to be well worth the money. It's got so much to help you really either plug and play things like locations or factions or monsters, but it's also got material to teach you how to homebrew your own stuff or to help you generate your own stuff. And I love that combination. I find that to be one of the best combinations for selling a book is to have something to help you do it yourself and something to help you just have it done for you. That's like a winning combination. So let's zoom in. They don't have a full-size preview, but we can zoom in here and look at the small preview a little bit. So it talks about what system neutral is, introduction, and then rules of the street, the toy box method. And I'm loving the art and the layout. So traveling to the city, shortcuts and hazards. So really just getting to see a little bit of the book, but already I can see, okay, so they've got this section here, roof hopping, all alighting atop roofs, clambering up chimneys, and leaping from building to building. You've got the following: decks are in to avoid danger. So the hazard is a nasty fall. You fall, dealing damage. You have a weak roof. You fall through for more damage. Through a window, you crash into someone's home. Birds, a flock of angry birds peck at your face. Spotted and fined, a guard stops you. You have to pay some gold. Angry local, enraged local will call authorities if you follow this route again. And then street running, similar sort of how to avoid danger. And then sewer creeping. So you could run into, in sewer creeping, septic water, get stuck in a pipe, lost in the murk, burning sludge, rats, angry gator. On street running, you can face plant. There's a carriage, stuck in the crowd, board guard, pickpocket, angry store owner. So pretty cool. Talking about how long it takes to travel. Average travel time in the city: 18 miles a day, 2 miles an hour. If congested, 9 miles a day, 1 mile an hour. And then it talks about shortcuts, expedited travel. Just really looks beautiful. And you can see here at the table of contents, so they've got cobblestone beasts, like the dire pigeon that we talked about earlier, how to build the city, then the undercity, the spire. These are all like pre-built locations, the undercity, the spires. They've got encounters, monsters, other things that you might see there. Cultivist district, the different things that'll be there, including some artifacts and trinkets, and then the foundry district and the archivist district, including NPCs, spells, lots of stuff. I wish we could see more on the page, because I do think there's a lot to offer, and that might be a barrier for some folks not getting to see more, but I really think it's gonna have a lot for you. I mean, just based on this list here, it's got 5 ratings with an average of 5 stars, so I definitely think it's worth exploring and seeing if there's something in here that works for you. If you are a DM or somebody that creates even books, I mean, I think the generators alone are going to be worth it, because there's help in here to help you generate and run unique city landscapes. There's all kinds of ways to generate urban factions in here. There's tons of plug and play stuff, whether you take a spell or an artifact or whatever. So granted, it's probably going to be more OSR, but you could probably easily convert a lot of this stuff to 5th edition as well. So check it out. It's in the links below under Into the Cess and Citadel. Give it a click. Next we have Levandell. It's a town map and setting from DC Fantasy Arts, $9.99. And it's basically suitable for any of the fantasy games, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, 5th edition, 3rd edition, you name it, it'll work with it, because it is basically a location. So you got a full color map and setting of the town, including, its economy, leadership, citizens, buildings. So if you just randomly need a town, this is a great little supplement to have, because it's just going to give you everything you need all at once. And you just never know, right? You never know what's going to happen. You might have people leave your group and it kind of messes up the flow, or the characters just took a hard ride in your story and it's like, okay, they're trying to find a town. I gotta come up with the town. And so really helpful to have stuff like this on hand. You got 2 huge versions of the high resolution map. I mean, these pixels, 9,000 by 10,000. Labeled and unlabeled. That's really helpful. And then of course they have the VTT size as well. You get a description and history of the town, quick reference overview including demographics, religion, economy, etc. 10 organizations, 15 notable NPCs, 10 generic NPCs, 14 locations with descriptions, and then quick guide to inns and taverns with quality ratings. I mean, hyperlinking. I mean, just really well put together. And you can see, we'll zoom in on this in a minute, but you can see this is a super detailed map with all these numbered locations for you. And then down here you get into information on the city itself, what some of the nearby towns are called, demographics of the city, economy. So it's a major exporter of quality artisan furniture. They also have lumber and mining going on. Then you got some factions like the Furniture Makers Guild, the Stone Axe Guild, and then notable NPCs. So we've got Margrave Isabel Corbett. She is ruler of Levandell, appointed by Duke Philip Godfrey, the Crown of Ancaster, inherited position 8 years ago following the death of her husband, Lord Byron Corbett, relies heavily on Colonel Shaw for military decisions, spends much of her time dealing with trade and the economies of the town. And then you've got notable locations like the Lower Juniper, Quell's Labyrinth, Temple Plaza. So it says Quell's Labyrinth is the perfect location to get lost or manage an escape, not the wisest place to take a heavy purse. It can also be the kind of place to find less than reputable or legal goods. If it wouldn't be sold in Temero Square, Quell's Labyrinth might be the place to go. However, it would probably be smart to hire a guide. And it says the neighborhood is a maze of stacked homes and shops hidden in the twisting alleys. It's a conspicuous home to deviousness, wedged directly in the center of town, easily spotted by the broken tower at its core known as Racelor's Ghost, a strange ode to the previous area's inhabitants. So, yeah, got to be careful going into that area. But I like that there's just so much detail. I told you I'd zoom in on this, so let's zoom in and look at this a little better. So yeah, you can see all the different numbers of where things are. And then down at the bottom, it'll say, the Pikes Bridge. So Quell's Labyrinth 14, we read that one. That is right here in the center. So you have that sort of buildings stacked on top of each other kind of thing. Really tight spaces, people to go through. And then you got all this forests that are labeled. So, you could really easily, with this many buildings, you could just say, okay, this building right here is going to be where you're going to have your camp for the evening because it's a little abandoned building, or it's, or it's an inn or whatever. So you could really name a lot of these locations, and you probably would not run out of locations because there's a lot in here, which I think is really cool. So I think this is going to be really helpful for people, and it's in the links below under Levandell, so give it a click. Next, we have Magician's Menagerie from Realm Warp Media, 1995, for 134 pages. Authors Xavier Bates, Ryan Langer, and Gwendolyn Marshall. And it's an inspired collection of over 20 spellcasting NPCs, whether they're bardic, druidic, sorceress, or wizards. These NPCs got you covered because they can be, player characters or fully fledged NPCs, and probably could even take a turn to the dark side and be the big bad if you wanted, if you want to expand some of the characters here. It says each caster contains all of the information you would need to use them in your story, their motivations, history, connections, discovery, and flair. Over 100 spells and magic items lay inside just waiting to be used in your next adventure. So very, very cool. And I just love the artwork as well. So you can see it goes through the different NPCs. You got people like Mercs and Falibor and Marta and Florona Brightleaf. And then there's an appendix with spells, magic items, and player options. So just a lot here, and I absolutely love the layout. These borders are gorgeous. The fonts are really easy to read. And you get right in this preview, you get to see 89 of the 134 pages. So it's quite a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to do a quick scroll so you can see a lot of the pages. Let me see if I can fit to screen. Whoops. There we go. Just for the quick scroll so you can kind of see how it looks beautiful and how much space they're devoting to each one of these NPCs, which I love. So we'll go back up and we'll read about Mercs, the first one here. But yeah, it's such a big preview. It takes a second to scroll through because there's so much to see. All right, so we'll zoom in. We'll look at Mercs here. So Mercs is an infinitely humble and well-meaning elder who wishes to share the gift of magic with those who do not possess it. He is often charming and helpful when approached by new folk, but is slow to truly trust anyone. He has lived through years of being on the sea, a life of adventuring, and finally teaching the arcane in his elder years. Untraditionally, he wears fishing attire at all times, standing tall and always smiling. His shell shows signs of age and deep scratches from battles, stories of which he is happy to tell if given the time. So it says Merx travels and lives with no companions, instead passing travelers and students with whom he shares knowledge and teachings become temporary allies. These individuals can range from simple commoners to archmages or anything in between. So got some acquaintances, including an elder water elemental, some dryads, quaddles, ghosts, and then Merc's familiar is a cat named Wolf. And then spellcasting, Merc spends each morning sailing out to open water to prepare his spells by tying a sequence of knots into his fishing line. Once finished, the knots disappear into the line and give it a shimmering colored aura. Morx then attaches his specially crafted flies to the line and spends an hour fishing to complete his ritual. This ritual is how Mercs thought of crafting their specialty arcane focus, as well as giving him time to communicate with otherworldly beings. Merc's main focus on spellcasting is conjuration, forming barriers around his enemies, as well as bringing forth elemental spirits to attack. So very detailed. I love this concept of, you know, he's tying knots in these fishing lines, and that's like each spell is a different knot, and it's a whole ritual. And then it goes deep into the arcane focus, the conjurations, the equipment, the spell book even. You're getting detail on Merc's spell book, and then you get a really cool image of Merc's. Introduction, pursuits, and then adventure hooks. So the first one is, the first to bear, Merx has heard of the hero's great exploits and wishes to either gift them the infinitus arcana or task them with finding someone he can trust with it. So really awesome. Tracking a ghost. And then you get spells right away into spells and magic items connected to Merc. So we've got Clear Tides. You and up to 5 other willing creatures you can see within range gain a swim speed equal to walking speed, and blind sight while underwater. And you got Conjure Storm. You create a localized storm attuned to one creature. When you cast the spell, you decide the weather conditions, which take effect immediately. You can change precipitation, temperature, and wind of the area within 10 feet of a creature. The conditions can have several effects as decided by the DM. So really cool thematic spells that tie into this sort of fisher person, NPC that's into magic. And then you've got an arcane net, a net of restraining, ever holding tackle box. I mean, just tons of really connected stuff. And what I love about that is you could have one of your PCs or multiple PCs visit this character at a leveling point in the story where they're going to level, and have them maybe hear about these spells, have a conversation about, oh, I have this spell Clear Tides or Conjure Storm or Murky Depths, and they could conceivably spend a role-playing moment learning one of these new spells if they decide to take one of these as part of their level up. And there's a bunch of them in this book, right? So it doesn't have to be with Mercs. It could be with any of the characters in here. Or, maybe they do a task for one of these NPCs, and the NPC returns the favor by giving them one of these magic items like the fly line or the arcane net, etc. And you can pluck these NPCs out. They're not tied to a campaign setting. So if you've got a fishing village, you could put Mercs right in there so easily. And, Mercs could get corrupted and all of a sudden, is not behaving how he normally does. And maybe he's not going out to sea every morning, or he looks different when he comes back from the sea. And so then he could be maybe an enemy. So there's so many options with this. The beauty of it is that you can just plug and play. You can take what you need, whether it's just an item or just a spell or the whole character. And the detail that is going into these NPCs is massive. I mean, adventure hooks for each of them, details on their arcane focus, their spell books. I mean, it's so incredibly detailed for you to play with. But still room to create with them too. It's not like it's overdone. So nice balanced information for each of the characters in here. And I love the layout and the artwork too. It looks really nice. So you got to grab it. It's in the links below. Magician's Menagerie. Give it a click. Next, we have Merchants of Alveria, Books and Scrolls by Gabrielo Despent. It's on sale for $3.99, normally $4.99. 23 pages. And it's the second in a volume of shops for people to use, including NPCs. This one focuses on like bookshops and places that sell scrolls, etc. So you get 6 NPCs. 13 non-magical reference books, 11 magical books, and then of course the shops themselves. So that's super helpful. So you get to see 5 of the 23 pages, but you can see there's the Roller Printing Company, which has 4 NPCs associated with the Tome Raider, with Clara Loft as the NPC. A very nice reference to Tomb Raider. And then you've got the Traveling Scribe Wizard with Elvaris Silverai as the NPC. And then you got some reference books, magical books. You can always use reference books. You never know when a PC is going to say, well, what's on the bookshelf? Or I search, I want to look, right? You can put one of these reference books in somebody's bag, a loot, on a corpse, whatever, right? So always helpful to have these as well. But here you get into the Roller Printing Company, and the whole clan is talked about, as well as you get these price lists. So this would be like the inventory of the store. So they have everything from ink to paper to spell books, and then a bunch of the reference books and the prices for those, and then tools like the artisan tools, gaming set, etc. But I mean, some of the reference books are the Roller's Atlas, selected theses on toxicology, seas and stars, a wayfinding guide. Right, you can use all of those in stories, so love that. So the common folk are not privy to educational materials due to the efforts of the Rowlers, an enterprising gnome clan. The company has bookstores stylistically called Athenaeums, not only in Alveria's urban centers, but also within the continent's less populous towns and villages. The Rowlers curate, print, distribute, and sell books. The trade requires a lot of manpower, but fortunately, several family members support their patriarch's rather peculiar trade. So you get some quotes about it, the members of the clan, and then a few paragraphs about each one. So Stephen Rowler is the patriarch of the gnomish Rowler clan and the founder of the Rowler Printing Company. He has an encompassing knowledge of almost all things. A tangible proof of this is the encyclopedia he wrote that bears his family's name. Stephen is stationed at the main branch of Rowler Athenaeum. He can be seen reading exotic books while smoking a pipe. So it's cool that not only is this character working at the Rowler Printing Company, but has like a connection to a particular book that he wrote. So, and I'm sure he could quote the book, etc. There's several with Rowlers in the title. So kind of a cool little setup. And this is just one that we've looked at. There's 3 different shops in here. And as I've said earlier in the video, you can never have enough NPCs, enough shops. Your characters are going to ask to go places, and you want to be ready. And you don't need to homebrew literally everything in your game. You should have some things that are just plug and play, because it's a lot of work, right? And even if you want to homebrew, what you could do is take these things and change the names, change a few details, and then you've kind of homebrewed it. So lots of options. And if you want to get some shops with books, look for this in the links below under Merchants of Alveria and give it a click. Next, we've got Order of the Ryukin, a new draconic order for the Dragon Knight class. And this is 5th edition. There's a Shadeside Entertainment has put this out as $1.99 for 12 pages. Author Ryan Gerbig. And you can actually get the class as well with this bundle down here. So I know we're not covering the class in this episode, but I love when a book comes out that supplements a custom class, because we need more subclasses for custom classes, because they're trying to play catch up with the classes that have been released officially, right? But also, this book has a bunch of other things that are beyond just the subclass. So there's some fighting styles, feats, and then 8 dragon-inspired magic items. So that really helps you get some use out of this, even if you're not playing the Dragon Knight class. But as I said, if you click the link in our video description to get to this, you can also get the bundle for $5.49 to get the class with the subclass, or just $1.99 if you already have the class. And so it's 12 pages. Let's look inside. So all kinds of stuff. So you've got the Order of the Ryukin with all the information on that subclass, and then it goes into draconic packs, which are a part of being a Dragon Knight. And then you got magic items like the Bonding Scale, the Dragon Blade, the Chromatic Claw Tattoo, Ring of Bestowing Gold, etc. So Really cool, and you can read the whole book in the preview, so you can look through here, find out about this subclass, and then get down through all these magic items and see what you can do with those as well. So gives you some good options, and gives you lots of information on the book before you buy, which I always appreciate. So, Ring of Bestowing Gold. Once belonging to a wealthy mountain dweller, this ring was stolen by a trickster god and eventually found its way into the hands of man. While you are wearing this ring on one of your fingers, you know the location of any item made from or containing gold, such as coins or treasures within 300 feet of you. This ring also has 6 charges, and it regains charges every day at dawn. As an action, you can expend a charge to magically create a gold bar in the hand you are wearing this ring. And it's cursed. This ring is cursed, and you becoming attuned to this item extends the curse to you. While you are cursed, you are unwilling to remove the ring, and you gain the following flaw. Everyone around me desires this ring, and I must guard it with my life. So that's a really cool roleplay opportunity. You think people really want to steal it, and then the rest of the party can just sort of question, well, why are you so... I don't want to steal your stuff. Why are you getting so protective of this ring? That's a change. And they can whisper to each other, I think this is cursed, or, try to figure it out. And for you as the player, playing that and being like, just hey, can you step back? You're getting a little too close to my ring, or whatever, right? Or, sleeping with that hand under yourself or something so that nobody can take it off while you're sleeping, whatever little role play way you want to weave that in, because it's going to be like walking a tightrope, because as the player you're going to want to have that happening, but at the same time you don't want them to immediately realize you're cursed. So you're going to have to be subtle. You're going to have to walk a fine line and work it in without overdoing it. So I think that'd be really fun for a character. And then you get the metallic wing tattoo, dragon blade. I mean, all of these items look really fun. Dragon bone weapon. But just scrolling back up here, just to give you a taste of this class, it says there's an art and beauty to combat that subclass, I should say. There's an art and beauty to combat that very few have an eye for: the movement of arms, the placement of feet, the stillness of mind, the action and the reaction. As a dragon knight under the order of the Ryukin, you've learned to see, understand, and embrace these aspects of combat under the teachings of your patron, from whom you've learned many powerful combat forms empowered by draconic energy. These stances embody an elegant way of fighting typically used for sport, empowered by the patron to become far deadlier than other combat styles. So, really cool. There's fighting styles associated with this, all sorts of stances. You've got an optional feat connected to it. I mean, most subclasses do not take up this many pages, so there's a lot of detail here, which is awesome. You get 3 pages as opposed to the typical 1 or 2 pages for a subclass, so I love that. Get an improved extra attack, secret technique, where you can do an 8-headed strike at 15th level. So fun stuff in here, and I think it's really inexpensive to get both the class and the subclass. So if you haven't heard of the Dragon Knight yet, you can click on this link down here and check it out. And all of this you can get to through our video description links under Order of the Ryukin. Give it a click. Next we have Unearthed Spoils 9, Realm of Repose from Grimm Press and Sandy Lawson. And this is sort of a series, so it's like a digital magazine, so you get an archetype. So in this case, it's the Repose domain for the cleric. You get more than a dozen new NPCs to add to your campaign. You get magical spells, you get 6 of those, you get enchanted items, and you get an adventure, the Harried Harvester, an exciting adventure for level 6 players that can be dropped into any campaign that includes a forested area. And then you get 4 full-colored maps to keep your players engaged. So a lot on offer, and as usual with Grimm Press, you've got a nice layout to feast your eyes on. So you got the Repose domain here, and then some fun artwork, and then you get into the Bog Stronach, and including the Dry Stronach. So you get to see 10 of the 24 pages, and then Weird Magic Table. So there's some weird magic associated with something in here. I don't know if it's this particular monster or if it's just for random use. But I like that. It says your spell fails and uses up a spell slot unless it's a cantrip. And if you roll a 20, your spell does not use up a spell slot. So that's cool. Then you got the Stronach clone, immature Stronach clone, and juvenile and adult. So various stat blocks. So that ranges from CR6 all the way down to CR1. And then you got the Bellowin. So lots of cool monsters in here to check out. So the Bog Stronach. A Stronach is thought to be a piece of a dead god that is separated from its solidified course, floating in the cosmos, and that has found its way to the surface of the world, usually by being pulled through a gate in a random event. A Stronach has no sapience, but it is imbued with latent magic. When a Stronach ends up in a location with moisture, over time it will leach the area of nutrients and create a bog. A bog Stronach will begin to mindlessly attempt to create entities in its own image, likely a vestigial trait of godhood. Since it can't create true clones, it sends out runners, much like rhizomes on a plant, that grow aberrant facsimiles of the Stronach. So the Stronach is a challenge rating 16, and it's a gargantuan undead, so that would be pretty cool to take that down. And I like the connection to godhood and stuff like that. That's really fun too. And then just a bit about the repose domain. It says these lawful undertakers of the realm are not particularly benevolent. Clerics of repose concern themselves with the matters of passing and ushering the spirit from the mortal world to the next. They abhor undead or anything that interferes with the natural course of the spirit in life and in death. Although children and the unwashed often fear these armed clergy, in their ubiquitous black and charcoal gray robes with symbols of death adorning them, the sage and experienced know that they bear no malice toward the average person. Only necromancers and those who deal in souls, such as devils and fiends, need to fear their divine wrath. So, really cool. Love that. And yeah, there's a lot. I mean, you get for $8.99, getting 24 pages of goodness, including spells. We don't even get to see it all here in the preview, but there's spells, there's items, there's really cool monsters, a whole cleric domain, and even an adventure. So you can get a grab bag of stuff for $8.99 and have a really good time. And you don't have to use it all at once. You can use the adventure, you can use the spells somewhere else, you can use the items. So this is going to be like a gift that just keeps giving. So check it out. It's under Unearthed Spoils 9 in the links below. Give it a click. Well, that was our last new release. Let me sneak preview the discount for next week. We have every Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on all the social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Splinterverse. We have an exclusive discount for you that you can't find anywhere else, and they usually last only about a week, so you got to take advantage of them while they're there. And then we talk about them, of course, the following Friday on our show. So you want to make sure you're following so you can grab these. Some of them are limited in number as well as discount. So this is for Sunken Temple of the Swamp God from Jack Kellum and of Gods and Game Masters. And it is a setting neutral adventure for 4 to 6 characters of 6th level. It also says 5th edition over here, so I'm not sure if it's 5th edition or just setting neutral. But either way, it's a fun adventure. The Black Swamp holds many secrets. Go deep within on a quest to save a missing boy and discover hints of greater dangers to come. Useful as a one-shot adventure to be finished in 1 or 2 sessions, or it can be used as any part of a Black Swamp campaign. So really cool, and it's similar in themes and terrain to the Ghost of Saltmarsh, so you could probably work it in with that. But yeah, really cool idea. Love swamp stuff always. I think it's just so thematic and fun to play in swamps in D&D. So it's going to be available Monday, MST 10 a.m. You get this discount at Splinterverse everywhere. And then take advantage of it before it's gone, and take a look at this week's discount. These creators are being kind enough to offer us these exclusive discounts, so we want to support them and help them make their sales goals, get their work out there to more people, etc. And of course, consider supporting all the titles we've covered this week. If you click any of these links, any purchase you make, whether we covered the book or not, is going to also help the channel. So you're doing a lot of good things by clicking the links and supporting these awesome creators. We want them to keep creating and coming up with good stuff for us every week. And, consider some of our books. We've got 6 different titles down there. You can go back to the beginning of the video to see a little bit about each of those if you want, or just click the links or go to splinterverse.com and read about them. But 6 different titles, and we have another one coming at the end of the year for Dragonlance. Can't wait to start talking more about that. It's massive, huge book with lots of Dragonlance goodness in it. So you're really going to like that. And please subscribe to the channel, like the video. That helps with the algorithm. Leave us a comment. I will respond to all those comments personally. And tell your friends about the videos. We need to get the word out to more people about all these awesome books so that people can supplement their tables with all the cool stuff that people are coming up with. And if you're a creator watching this, keep on going. Believe in yourself. Believe in your ideas. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it or that your idea isn't worth it. That's just noise. You've got this. Don't listen to your inner saboteur. Just get it done. There'll be time for all the other things you like later. So hang in there. I know what it's like to be a creator. And, you have to really be your own ally, and you have to keep yourself on track. So you can do it. I believe in you. I want to see what you're making. Be sure to hit me up on social media. Share your work with me. I'm always interested in looking at new creators and new works. So hit me up. And until next time, everyone, thank you for watching and happy adventuring.